So good morning. My name is Brenton. I serve as a career coach as well as the co-leader of the Peer Career Ambassador Program with the University Career Center. And I am very excited this morning to be joined by Jonathan Gardner, Executive Director of GardHouse. So Jonathan, I thank you for taking the time to meet with me this morning. I'm really excited to kind of share some of the opportunities and the great work that you are doing over at GardHouse with some of the students here at UNC Charlotte. So if you could maybe just kick us off by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely great to be here and share what we are doing here in Charlotte to start off with. My name is Jonathan Gardner, Executive Director of GardHouse. We are a nonprofit organization that provides paid internships to college students of color. And we do it in a unique way where we connect our students with minority-owned businesses in the fall and spring for those paid internships. And then in the summer, we connect them with our generally owned partners. So whether if those are nonprofit organizations or large-scale corporations for summer internships. And the reason why I started this work and the reason why I studied in this space is because I once was a college student of color. Originally from Philadelphia, went to LaSalle University, majored in communications, minored in poli-sci. And leaving college, I thought I had it all together. However, I found a lot of the work that I had done throughout college didn't really amount to what I expected. Therefore, I wanted to create a safe haven for students to be able to turn to build the social capital that they needed in order to properly enter the workforce. So been running the organization now for a little bit over a year and a half, and we have been able to grow. And because of that growth, we are just looking to continue to make the impact across different students that we are able to encounter.
Awesome, great. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the programming or some of the initiatives that you have through GardHouse?
Yeah, so while the students are enrolled in our internship program, we do require them to attend certain workshops. So each month we have dedicated 6 to 7 opportunities for students to engage, not just in professional development, but also personal development. For GardHouse, it's an extreme component for us to focus on mental health, because though you can grow as a professional, it doesn't make sense if you haven't grown as an individual first. So we make sure that we take the time to really focus on the student as themselves and who they are as individuals and the impact that they ultimately want to make. And then we do a pivot into the professional development. So that way we can make sure across the board that students are being grown properly. And what some of those workshops look like outside of our resume revamps, which is editing one-on-one within the industry that you're looking to enter, our mock interviews. We also do the mental health workshops. So take, for example, this upcoming month, we're doing a Hulk therapy session, which is basically when you get to go in and you break everything, from cars to tables to TVs. And we're utilizing that opportunity to really focus on smashing barriers, or those internal barriers that you have. So what's blocking you internally from going after what you want to go after in life? Everything doesn't have to be as stiff. It's more so just trying to get engaged and interactive, especially during the pandemic. What things can we do to remain socially distant, but still somewhat creating a community? So our workshops definitely focus on the personal and professional.
Okay, yeah, that's great. I haven't done one of those break rooms, but I've heard it's a lot of fun. So
I'm hoping we get the car.
So I kind of want to segue from there. So you kind of talked about you're also kind of using it as this kind of metaphor for breaking barriers. So can you talk to me about what do you feel like are some of the unique challenges or barriers for students of color who are sort of looking to enter, the workplace or, start their careers?
So it's twofold. Reason why we focus on personal and professional is because there's barriers in both points. So personally, or actually I'm gonna start with professionally, there are a lot of systemic barriers that students face. What we identified through even just our application process, asking for a letter of recommendation. How can someone get a letter of recommendation if they do not have social capital, if they don't have a network to actually turn to? And though, yes, you have professors and you might have counselors, unless you have built that relationship with that individual, you won't feel comfortable then asking them, which switches to the personal, is that you don't want to build a relationship because you might have some issues dealing with trust or dealing with vulnerability. So there's a lot of expectations that you place on yourself to form these relationships, which ultimately keep you from gaining the social capital that you need to enter where you want to go. So a lot of those barriers that we face are either systemic or it's a result of the systemic barriers that have been placed within our lives.
Awesome. If you were to sort of ask a student who's gone through the GardHouse program, sort of what do they feel like they gained from this experience, what would you hope they'd say?
Well, I can actually factually answer that question. Since June, we had a documentary filmed on our organization, and we followed the lives of 4 students from different walks of life. One being a young parent, other dealing with mental health issues, other being the first of their family to enter college and break into an industry, the other going back to school to obtain a new degree at an older age. And what we have learned from each of them is that we've been able to give them a sense of self and reaffirm their sense of self. A lot of individuals sometimes walk around the world just trying to make it day by day. But it's those key individuals that feel a purpose and feel connected and feel grounded to the earth that they start to really grow across the board. And so for our students, we've learned that we've been able to show up as a family, which is why we're called GardHouse, because everything we do is centered around family, and really start to help them identify their why. And so all the students that leave us are connected to their why and their sense of purpose.
Awesome. I really like that family piece. I think, that having that support system is so important, for these students. Can you talk a little bit about your partnerships? What are maybe some of your existing partnerships, and how do you go about developing those partnerships?
Yeah, so we have some really great partners. First, we partner with community organizations that focus on getting kids into school. Though, yes, first generation is great to have as a title, it takes more than one generation to really break generational curses. So therefore, we connect with them to make sure that they're getting that same white glove service that they receive to enter college. So whether if it's Carolina Youth Coalition is one of our greatest community partners. Right now, we're working on a pilot with them to assist their students that are interested in the healthcare field. So connecting them with different professions within the healthcare industry that they want to explore. Another partnership that we have and been working really closely with is with PwC. Though, yes, it's an accounting firm, a nationally and globally recognized accounting firm, it's more than just accounting. They have marketing departments, they have compliance departments, they have legal departments. And so therefore, they have opened up their doors a lot with their recruiters to come to our workshops and provide that professional guidance. So whether if you're in the graphic design field or if you're interested in legal, you just have an array of opportunities available to you. So those are some of our corporate partners as well. Additionally, I consider our friends' friends and friends of friends our partners too. A lot of people found out about GardHouse through word of mouth. I can't tell you how many times my phone rings throughout a week of, hey, I talked to such and such and they told me about your organization, can we talk? And that's the greatest form of partnership that I can ask for. Because if people are talking about GardHouse, that means people are talking about growth and really trying to propel themselves forward. So therefore, our community partners of true community members is, I think, the best part.
Yeah, that's great. And that's a really great, again, segue sort of to the next question. So one of the things that, I feel like there are so many amazing organizations like your own that are doing really great work to support students. And yet, sometimes it's just simply that awareness that can be difficult and trying to connect them with these resources. So what have you found to be effective in terms of getting out there, connecting with the community, connecting with students, and getting them sort of into the fold?
So I'm originally from Philly, like I said, and anything Philly is brass and very in your face. The guerrilla marketing just works. So I try to apply that same mindset to our students. Believe it or not, I'm a very introverted individual. However, I understand in order for me to go somewhere, I need to be extroverted at times. So that hustler's mentality is what's needed. And that's something that we just instill. So for anybody, whether if you're starting your own business or just trying to enter into an industry, it's instilling that mindset of you got to grind, you have to hustle to get it done. And to bring awareness to it means you have to constantly be selling yourself, whether if you're walking down the street or if you're sitting on a Zoom webinar. You have to find ways to make yourself stand out. And it's not always being the loudest person in the room or the smartest person in the room. It's figuring out who am I and how do I best position that to have somebody else be intrigued. I think the biggest takeaway that I've learned through my years of experience is that you don't need to leave with the most business cards. You don't need to enter with the best pitch. It's how do I authentically show up in the loudest, but not loudest way, and make sure that I make the most authentic connection possible versus just trying to get everybody into one little group and you walk away really without any sense of true relationship being formed. So, yeah.
Great. Well, you've mentioned a couple times now that you're a proud Philly sort of native. And so I understand now you're in Charlotte. You started this organization in Charlotte. Tell me about that calculus. Like, what do you think Charlotte provides sort of as a unique either challenge or opportunity that sort of made this the place that you wanted to start GardHouse?
So the reason why I started in Charlotte, one, because Charlotte is my home, and also Charlotte was ranked dead last in economic mobility. So if you are born into poverty here, you basically have zero chance to raise from your economic status. I can't say the same for Philly. With that being said, I wanted to start something here first. Obviously, it would be great to grow the organization across North Carolina, across different states, but Charlotte was definitely a city that needed this type of assistance. And especially when I looked at the amount of minority-owned businesses that were available for this type of support. For me, there was no excuse as to why the statistic stood. So therefore, we needed to create something to combat that. And Charlotte being a city of small businesses of all different types of industries, it just made sense that we have students that are here. You have major universities that have students that are willing to learn if you provide them with the additional guidance that they need. So let's go ahead and put them together and create this partnership that can literally start to combat that main statistic.
Great. So I kind of want to go back to, kind of the conversation about partnerships. And so one of the things that, I know your organization is focused on is making sure that students get experience at other minority owned or businesses that are owned by people of color. And so I'm curious, from your experience or maybe of the students that you've worked with, what do you feel like is the sort of advantage or the difference between working for maybe a majority-owned company versus having a student have that experience working at a minority-owned company and sort of seeing someone in a position of leadership that sort of looks like them?
I mean, you feel more comfortable. I mean, regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, when you see someone that is like you, it gives you a sigh of relief to say, you might understand me. I don't have to explain anything. And it's not that it's wrong to explain, because you should have to explain so that way someone can understand you. But it allows for you to get your entry into an industry with someone who looks like you. So if you feel like you mess up, you can correctly communicate how you messed up and they understand you without you having to find the right words all the time. It's like, how can I explain this? Or if I'm going through something personally, you might be able to relate to me and what I'm going through versus having to then explain, this is why I'm going through it. And then this is what I'm going through. And then this is how it impacts me. It just allows for better relationship building, but it also sets the tone for, okay, this is where I'm at, where can I now grow? And a lot of the minority-owned businesses that we have worked with has altered even my own perception as to what minority-owned businesses are. It's not that I didn't think minority-owned businesses weren't multi-million organizations or companies. It was, where do I find them? And you will be surprised who's in your own backyard. We can support them, but honestly, they can also support you too with a stipend. So it works out.
That's awesome. So can you talk about maybe what a student could expect from an internship experience through GardHouse? Sort of like when the internship might start, when it would end, and maybe some of like day-to-day that they might expect. Obviously, it's dependent on the company that they're with, but sort of a day-to-day.
I mean, I'm going to preface it by, you're going to be put to work. No student who's been in our organization will tell you that it's just, oh, you show up and you do this. No,
no, just getting coffee.
Not just getting coffee. Like, no, you're going to be doing something either with that company or definitely with us. We'll have you put to work in more ways than one. But our application opened January 25th and it closes March 1st. And once we finish interviews and we walk through exactly what that student wants to do, they're automatically looped into all the workshops that we have available each month. But also we do that personalized approach that we really are centered on growing them as professionals. So we do some journey mapping, and once a month for 2 hours, we go over their journey map and we explore exactly what route they need to take next. Being with family, sometimes having family in the car can be a little anxious and, you don't want that backseat driver, but we are the backseat drivers across your career journey. And we don't want you to make the wrong turn. So therefore we assess what turns are coming up. We are the GPS for you as you grow as a professional. And that just happens throughout the entire year. And then in the summer, there's no more career mapping sessions because now you're going to be within the company that you might end up working for down the line. But long story short, it's the 6 to 7 workshops that are available to you, plus one monthly 2-hour session that's held on Saturdays, in addition to your internship that you work 15 hours a week across the 12 weeks of your semesters.
Awesome. Great. I mean, it sounds very structured and like a lot of support for students. And I really like the idea of career mapping, kind of laying it out and helping them navigate that process. So in terms of support, like I know how important and impactful sort of mentorship can be. And you kind of talked about that personalized experience. Can you talk about like, what does mentorship look like within GardHouse and working with the students that you work with?
It's real different. I will say that. Not your traditional mentoring program. One being because I believe in mentorship 100%, but I believe strongly in networks. So therefore, our mentorship program is set up to where we have 2 avenues that professionals can explore to mentor students. It can be the traditional way where you spend 2 to 5 hours a week speaking to a student. If they have questions, meeting up with them at a coffee shop or via Zoom and just having those real life conversations with them, providing industry insights and life insights. Or it's what we call house calls, which is you sign up to be a part of our mentor phone book. And whenever we encounter a student that has a specific question, okay, cool. I know Brenton is knowledgeable in career coaching. So I'm going to connect you with Brenton and you can have however long the conversation that you guys set up to be. A lot of people have been opting for our house calls because it just allows for you to be mentored on your own time. It's not a structured requirement, but it also gets you in the position to start having conversations about yourselves with various individuals across various companies. So that's what mentoring looks like at GardHouse.
Great. I have to ask, we're kind of all in this pandemic trying to take it a day at a time and feel our ways through. How do you feel like COVID has sort of impacted the work that you're doing or maybe the experience students might have with GardHouse?
I mean, we're a year and a half old. We actually started a work-based organization during the pandemic when everything was to be virtual. Therefore, it made us grow faster. We've been able to reach over 200 students, whether if that's through coaching sessions, workshops, internships, short-term projects, shoulders that students are able to cry on. Just being able to reach them has been the most interesting part during this pandemic, but also it has allowed us to serve 50 plus minority-owned businesses with operational support. So the pandemic made us step up to the plate and figure things out. We didn't have the luxury to work out kinks for a full year and then do this, true launch. It was hit the ground running. Either you're going to sink or swim. And I know there have been memes floating around throughout the entire pandemic. Uber was created in a pandemic. Something else was created in a pandemic. So it's that time to understand it's not having all your ducks in a row. It's, do you want this as if you need air to breathe? And with that being said, we had no choice but to operate as if we had all our ducks in a row. And it has helped us be able to help hundreds of students.
Awesome. Well, as we wrap up, I have just a couple more questions for you. So as you think about sort of the student applying to GardHouse and wants to be a part of this program, what do you think makes a candidate stand out? What sort of qualities or traits makes someone to be successful in the GardHouse program?
willingness to be open and the ability to tell your story. Our application process is probably the easiest process I've ever experienced of applying to an internship program. All you need to do is answer an essay prompt, and this year's essay prompt is what problem are you currently serving or would you like to solve? And just walk us through the steps of how you would solve it. So some of the applicants thus far have talked about income inequality to Alzheimer's and exactly what they would do in that process. Additionally, we do want you to have at least a 2.9 GPA, so that way we can make sure that you can stay on top of your studies, because we are a very intensive organization that makes sure you are getting where you want to go. And there's no need to get you where you're going to go if your grades ain't there. So outside of that, that's our requirements. We want you to just show up authentically you, but be prepared to do the work. And that's how we assess students. Are you willing to stretch? If you aren't, then that's something then we discuss through an interview round if you do make it to the interview round. But we want to see, are you willing to bet on yourself? And if you are, come on in.
Love it. And one last, I guess, sort of closing as we wrap it up, what would be one sort of tip or piece of advice you would leave with someone, just kind of as they're getting ready to graduate or getting ready to sort of enter into the workplace or their kind of career decision-making process?
Definitely breathe. It's going to be okay. Yeah. Nobody feels as if they have it 100% together all the time, because best believe the person that feels like they have it together right now, the moment that shift happens where what they expected doesn't actually happen, the world comes crashing down. So understand that we all just need a moment to breathe through the process, because if you're breathing, you're able to keep moving. So just find time to breathe and relax and trust that what will be or what's meant to be will be. So just breathe through it all.
I love it. I think you can apply that to any situation, man. So appreciate it. Mr. Gardner, again, taking the time out to kind of share some information. So this has been recorded. It'll be shared if there are others who are interested in learning a little bit more about GardHouse as well. You've also shared that you have a deck that you'd be willing to share as well for those who might be interested in getting some more information. Yeah,
I can send that out. And if you want to just know more about the organization in general, you can go to GardHouse, GardHouse.org.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you again, Mr. Gardner. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Bye.